It is 1 a.m. You have been in bed for an hour and a half. You are not watching anything, not doing anything technically wrong. You are just lying there while your brain rehearses every conversation from 2019, drafts a business idea you will definitely forget by morning, and somewhere in the background worries vaguely about whether you remember to lock the front door. You are exhausted. You were exhausted at 9 p.m., and yet here you are, fully awake, wired, frustrated. If this is your most nights, you are not broken. You are not catastrophically anxious, and you are definitely not failing at something as simple as sleep. You have ADHD, and your brain has a genuinely different relationship with nighttime than most people. In this video, we are going to explain exactly what is happening neurologically when you cannot shut off at night, why almost all standard sleep advice quietly fails for ADHD brains, and what you can actually do. Specific, step-by-step strategies built for the way your nervous system actually works. No wake up at the same time every day and limit caffeine after 2 p.m. and call it a video. Real stuff. Let's get into it.
Here is what is actually going on. ADHD is fundamentally a disorder of dopamine regulation. Dopamine is not just the feel-good chemical people talk about. It is the brain's signal for motivation, attention, and something researchers call salience, meaning it helps your brain decide what matters right now. In ADHD brains, the dopamine system is underactive during the day. The prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for things like planning, impulse control, and, critically, initiating the wind-down process before bed, is not getting the signals it needs to regulate smoothly. So here is the cruel irony. During the day when you need focus, the ADHD brain is often understimulated, sluggish, hard to start. But at night, when the external demands finally disappear, when the kids are down and the emails stop coming, the brain suddenly gets interesting. The stimulation is gone, so the brain goes looking for its own. It starts generating thoughts, replaying memories, spinning out plans. Researchers call this default mode network overactivation, the brain's background processing system running loud with nothing to quiet it down. There's also a physiological piece. Studies show that people with ADHD have a delayed release of melatonin, often by 1.5 hours compared to neurotypical adults. So your biology is literally telling your brain it is not time to sleep yet, even when the clock says midnight.
Now, there is a second layer to this that goes beyond pure biology, and it is something a lot of ADHD people recognize the moment they hear it named. It is called revenge bedtime procrastination. The name sounds dramatic, but the psychology is real. Here's what it looks like. Your day was full of things you had to do, meetings you did not choose, tasks that required enormous effort just to begin, transitions that were hard, stimulation that was either too much or not enough. By the time evening comes, you have very little that is actually yours. So your brain resists going to sleep because sleep means the day is over and you never got your time. It is not laziness. It is not self-destruction. It is a nervous system that is trying to reclaim something. For a lot of ADHD adults, the hours between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. become the most creative, most alive, most genuinely enjoyable time of the whole day. And the cruel math of that is obvious. The more you lean into those hours, the harder mornings become. The more the ADHD symptoms worsen from sleep deprivation, the more brutal the next day feels, which makes the next evening feel even more necessary. It is a loop, and understanding why you are in the loop is the first step to getting out of it, without just white-knuckling yourself to bed at 10 every night and wondering why it never sticks.
Standard sleep hygiene advice is not wrong exactly. It is just designed for a brain that is not yours. Keep a consistent sleep schedule. Avoid screens before bed. Do not use your bed for anything except sleep. Wind down with a relaxing activity. These things work beautifully if your brain's arousal system and your circadian rhythm are already roughly aligned with a normal day. For ADHD brains, they miss the actual problem almost entirely. Take consistent sleep schedule. If your melatonin onset is biologically delayed by 90 minutes, waking up at 7 a.m. every day does not train your brain to fall asleep earlier. It just means you are chronically sleep deprived while technically following advice. Or take avoid screens before bed. The screen is not the root problem for most ADHD adults. The problem is that screens are the only thing providing enough stimulation to hold your attention during the transition period. Telling someone with ADHD to swap their phone for a book at 9 p.m. often just means they stare at the ceiling with nothing to anchor their thoughts. And relaxing activities, meditation, journaling, light stretching, are themselves executive function tasks. They require initiation. They require consistency. They require doing something low stimulation when your brain is actively hunting for input. That is not a personality failure when it does not work. That is a mismatch between the recommendation and the neurology. The strategies that actually help have to start with the biology and work outward from there.
So, let's talk about what does work, and let's be specific. First, anchor your morning, not your bedtime. Research on delayed sleep phase, which is extremely common in ADHD, shows that the most effective lever for shifting the circadian rhythm forward is bright light in the morning, not discipline at night. Within 30 minutes of waking, get outside or sit near a very bright light source for 10 to 15 minutes. You do not need to do anything else. Just let the light hit your eyes. This signals your suprachiasmatic nucleus, your brain's master clock, to start counting the day, which naturally pulls your melatonin release earlier over time. 2 to 3 weeks of this makes a measurable difference. Second, build a dopamine wind down, not a stimulation cutoff. Instead of removing all stimulation cold, step it down in stages. Bright overhead lights to lamps by 9 p.m., high engagement content to something lower stakes but still interesting, a podcast, an audiobook, a comfort show you have seen before. That last one works because familiar content gives your brain just enough to hold without generating new loops. Third, address the revenge procrastination directly by scheduling intentional decompression time earlier in the evening. 30 minutes that is genuinely yours, not earned, not contingent on finishing anything. When your brain knows that window exists, it is less likely to hijack 1 a.m. to find it.
There is one more strategy that deserves its own moment because it directly targets the racing thought problem, and the science behind it is solid. It is called a brain dump, and the version that works for ADHD has a specific shape. About an hour before you want to be asleep, you spend 5 minutes, just 5, writing down everything that is open in your head. Not journaling, not processing emotions, just unloading. Tasks you are worried about forgetting, things you want to do tomorrow, conversations you are still turning over. The goal is not to solve anything. It is to offload those loops from your working memory onto paper. Because your brain keeps spinning on open items, partly because it does not trust it will remember them. When they are written down, that signal quiets. A 2017 study from Baylor University found that people who wrote a to-do list for the next day fell asleep significantly faster than those who journaled about completed tasks. The act of externalizing what is pending is neurologically calming. Pair that with the step-down lighting, the scheduled decompression window, and the morning light anchor, and you are not fighting your biology anymore. You are working with it. None of this is a cure. Sleep for ADHD brains takes ongoing attention, and some nights will still be hard. But understanding why your brain behaves this way at night, the dopamine, the delayed melatonin, the nervous system looking for its own stimulation, that understanding is not just interesting. It is the thing that replaces shame with strategy, and that is where change actually starts. Follow for daily ADHD content.